Hello and welcome to the presentation Finexia Voice Verify, Frictionless Voice Biometric Authentication. My name is Paul Morris and I'm responsible for sales of voice biometrics in the commercial sector. First, a little bit about Finexia, the company itself. Solving everyday challenges through voice. This is at the core of what Finexia has been doing for the last 15 years as a commercial organization. In fact, Finexia was born out of a specialist speech technology research group at the University of Technology here in Brno in the Czech Republic, which was founded over 20 years ago. To date, we are an organization of just over 60 people. So not a huge organization, but nonetheless, we do have a footprint across the world in over 60 countries, mainly in the government sector, where our technologies have been deployed to the likes of police forces, government ministries, intelligence organizations, surveillance operations through our partner network. But we also have a smaller footprint within the commercial sector as well. In reference to our government activities, we are extracting actionable insights from speech using our technologies and thus helping to create a modern world which is safe for all. So where does Finexia help? Well, we've already mentioned the fact that we help in areas of public security, and indeed we are a valuable technology provider in the arena of forensics through our voice biometrics technology. But as mentioned, we are also present within financial institutions and telcos. Here's a small cross-section of our clients and partners. Now you can see there that we have some telcos, utilities providers, financial organizations. We also have mentioned there some government ministries, some specialized integration partners who are specialized more in the areas of speech technology. We even have an automotive end user there, plus also what I would consider to be, let's say, a standout use case, the Bundeskriminalamt in Germany, which I'll come to a little bit later on. There are many more clients and partners that I would love to tell you about, but unfortunately, due to the nature of our business, which is predominantly at the moment in the government sector, we're not in a position to make public those names. Let's go back to the Bundeskriminalamt case study. Now, the Bundeskriminalamt is essentially the German equivalent of the FBI. And they actually performed an independent study, an evaluation, in fact, a couple of years ago, where our speaker identification technology, 4th generation, at that stage was in fact a better version, was compared against the equivalent product from Nuance, which of course is a large, well-respected global speech technologies vendor. And in fact, we outperformed the Nuance equivalent product in terms of the equal error rate. So in fact, our speaker identification technology, our voice biometrics technology, was shown to be more accurate, more precise than the equivalent from Nuance. So this is a testament to the accuracy, the precision, the robustness of our voice biometrics technology, which is really the focus of the rest of this presentation. Alongside that, Finexia as a company has won various awards and has achieved a variety of different recognitions. We were named in 2019 as one of the fastest growing technology companies in the whole of EMEA, one of the 500 fastest growing, in fact. The same year we won awards from Speech Technology magazine. One of them indeed was again in the arena of speech biometrics. And last but not least, in 2020, we were recognized as a challenger in the Intelligent Authentication and Fraud Prevention report that was published by Opus Research, a well-respected technology analysis company, specialized in fact in conversational technologies. We also perform regularly in the NIST evaluations for speaker recognition. NIST, of course, the US government organization, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. We go there together with our research partner, the Technical University here in Brno, And we have since 2008 always ranked in the top 6 in the evaluations. And that's from anywhere between 35 and 40 teams. And in fact, on at least one occasion, we have topped those rankings. Now let's look at the technologies that Finexia provides. So first of all, let's look at the technologies which really focus on the speaker themselves. So of course, we have the flagship technology, speaker identification, the passive voice biometrics technology that will tell us, based on a person's voice print, who that person is. We have language identification. We can identify from over 80 languages what language is being spoken. We have gender identification. That is, I would say, self-explanatory. And we have age estimation, where we can estimate plus or minus 7 years a person's actual age. Now, if we move to the other technologies, through there. Now, if we move to the other technologies, they are high enough in order for its analysis to be worthwhile and effective. We have speaker diarization, which allows us to break down a multi-channel, multi-speaker environment into its individual parts and thus enable easier analysis of those individual parts. Now, finally, we have, let's say, the most basic of the speech technologies, and that is voice activity detection, where we are able to detect within an audio if there is indeed voice activity, hence speech that can be analyzed. But let's move now to Finexia Voice Verify, because this is the real thrust of the presentation today. Your client's word is enough. Voice Verify, Finexia Voice Verify, is a software solution designed primarily for contact centers to allow their clients to be verified easily, smoothly, swiftly through their voice, i.e. through their unique, robust voice print. Now, we know, talking to end users, partners, industry analysts and specialists, that there are several challenges, main challenges, that are faced by call centers across the globe, across various industries. Number one, insufficient security. The call center is a gateway for fraudsters to access sensitive information on other individuals, and indeed at times to access the funds of other individuals. For example, in 2019 in South Korea, in fact, just within the metropolitan area of Seoul, it was estimated that up to $1 billion worth of voice fraud was carried out. Call duration. Calls into contact centers take too long. And one of the main reasons for that is the very complex client verification procedures that take place. Most of those are based on knowledge-based verification questions, either static ones, PIN numbers, passwords, mother's maiden name, or they can be more dynamic forms of knowledge-based verification questions, such as what was the size of a transaction you performed in the last 2 weeks or on a particular day. Average handling times are around the 3-minute mark for calls. And in relation to the overly long and complex calls, you have poor user experience. Clients have to remember PINs, passwords, pieces of information to be verified. It's tiresome for them. It can be frustrating. And let's not forget also another experience which is not mentioned on the screen here, and that's the poor agent experience. The agent having to constantly repeat over and over again, multiple times during a day, those same knowledge-based verification questions. So these are the main call center challenges. So the target industries for Finexia Voice Verify are banks and retail finance, insurance companies, telcos, and utilities providers. Here are the two main use cases for Finexia Voice Verify. One is client verification, the other fraud reduction. So let's start with the client verification use case. Here's a typical scenario of verification today when someone is calling into a contact center. There's an incoming call. Let's say that the unique identifier here is simply the telephone number, although it can of course be an account number. It can be some kind of a national ID number, social security number. That number, that identifier, is linked to a caller, in this case, a Jane Taylor. And then you have the conversation ensue between agent and customer. And here you can see that the scenario is knowledge-based verification. This is something the customer has to go through every time they call into the contact center. Here it's not a question of it being complex and difficult to remember for the customer, but it's simply a process that they have to go through every single time, as does the agent. Now, what we're aiming to provide with Phonexic Voice Verify is a different experience for both parties. So again, the incoming call, you have a unique identifier connected to a caller ID. And the initial interaction with Phonexic Voice Verify for the customer and the agent, at least, is not really very different from the usual interactions. The difference is, however, in the background, where Phonexic Voice Verify is working to extract the audio from the incoming caller. And that audio is being used to create a unique, robust voice print for that customer. We only need 20 seconds of their speech to create that unique, robust voice print. That voice print is then stored on a dedicated database on a server, which is located on premise on the end user side. We are not storing audio. We are simply storing a numerical representation of that person's voice. And when I say we are storing, in actual fact, Phonexic is not storing anything. Everything is being held on premise on the end user side, i.e. the bank, the insurance company, the telco, or the utilities provider. But the real magic comes in the verification phase, where the call comes in, but instead of the caller having to interact with the agent through that knowledge-based verification process, they can simply have a normal conversation with the agent. They can get straight to the issue that they need to have solved with the agent. And in the background, Phonexic Voice Verify is working by extracting the stored voice print, which is connected to the unique identifier. And it is in fact making a one-to-one comparison between that stored voice print and the voice print which is being created during that live conversation from the incoming audio. And then the agent is receiving the result, probably within their CRM system, and it's telling them, yes, the person who is calling is who they claim to be, or no, they are not who they claim to be, or they can be a zone somewhere in between, which says the solution is not 100% sure. Please refer to one or two additional knowledge-based verification questions. So ultimately, your client's word is enough. Let's look at some numbers related to the scenario we've spoken about. So when clients are verified automatically, let's say we have a contact center, relatively small, 5,000 calls a day, and the average call duration, as we mentioned before, is around about 3 minutes. Now, if you look at that, if you translate that into the numbers, we're able to shorten the typical verification of an individual by anywhere between 30 and 90 seconds. We know that sometimes the verification procedure using knowledge-based verification can be extremely long. All we need to be able to verify an individual with our solution is just 3 seconds of the person's speech. So it's 20 seconds of their speech to create their voice print, but in subsequent calls, it's just 3 seconds to be able to verify them. So we can drastically shorten the verification phase. That translates into 41 hours of daily savings. That means 41 hours of time that the agents in a call center can spend on solving the real issues the customer is calling about and not asking them repetitive knowledge-based verification questions. And the knock-on effect financially for the end user is that they can save anywhere up to €2,500 per day using such a solution. Now you see the graph here. Essentially, if you are investing in some additional hardware, which might be necessary, plus the cost of the software itself, you're around about €30,000. But those initial costs can be paid back within 6 weeks. And from then on, you're actually at the stage where after 3 months, you are able to save anywhere between €40,000 and €50,000 each month due to the usage of such a voice biometrics solution. Let's look at fraud reduction quickly. So again, let's take the same call center example, 5,000 calls a day. We know from industry statistics that the average fraud cost of a call is around about 58 euro cents. Now, if you're working with a solution that gives you 90% fraud detection, you can save anywhere up to 2,600 euros daily in terms of prevented fraud. Now, our solution actually provides out-of-the-box fraud detection levels of 92%. So that means you can increase that 2,600. And following calibration using end customer data to fine-tune the solution, you can achieve fraud detection levels of between 98 and 99%, further increasing those daily savings. Let's move to deployment. This is the deployment journey with Finexia Voice Verify. First of all, we have to do an investigation into the technical environment. What is the telephony system that's being used? What is the CRM system that's being used? What are the volumes of calls that are going to be processed? What are the numbers of concurrent calls that are going to be processed? These are all things that we need to know and need to understand in order to continue with the deployment journey effectively. We move to step 2, which is delivery of the Voice Verify package. Once we have all the information, we can custom build the package to fulfill your needs and requirements. Once that package has been delivered, we move to step 3, which is the deployment of that package, either on premise, as I mentioned previously, or there is even the option of deploying Voice Verify within a private cloud environment. And of course, the deployment does also involve some level of telephony or contact center software integration. Once that's been done, we can move to a proof of concept where for a certain period of time, an agreed period of time, the solution is tested within the end user environment. Following that, we move to data evaluation and calibration scenario, where we take the data, evaluate it, and then based on those outputs, we can calibrate and further fine-tune the solution to allow it to perform better. And then we move to the final step, which is full-scale production environment rollout. Green, go. So to summarize for you, what does Finexia Voice Verify give you? Well, it gives you cost savings. We can drastically reduce the verification between 30 and 90 seconds, drastically reduce the average handling time. That means the same number of agents can handle far more calls, or that same number of calls can be handled by far less agents. Fraud reduction. We can reveal fraudulent behavior from the very beginning by doing that comparison between the live voice print and the voice print which is already stored in connection with that unique identifier. Security is immediately increased drastically. And of course, let's not forget the seamless experience for the caller. No more pins or passwords to remember. It's a free speech voice biometric solution. People don't have to say any specific phrases. It's text independent and it's language independent. You have an increase in your net promoter score, customers are happier, and actually so are the agents. So why Finexia? Well, there's 3-second verification. Our voice biometrics verifies your clients in just 3 seconds of their free speech, text independent, language independent, out of the box with 92% accuracy. It's quick to evaluate. You can register online for our demo. Tomorrow you can receive access to the sandbox environment. And after having received an evaluation package, you can perform a POC of the solution in just a few weeks. And last but not least, support that cares. Because we're all located in one place, our development teams, our sales teams, and our pre-sales teams are all in proximity to each other, and we can solve issues quickly and elastically. So thank you for your time. Your client's word is truly enough. My name is Paul Morris. I'm Global Sales Manager for Finexia, responsible for voice biometrics in the commercial sector. If you want to reach out to me, feel free either by phone or by email. Thank you.